Hello everyone, my name is Sophia Barnhart, and today within the next 5 minutes or so, I'm going to be teaching you all some basic fundamentals of how to surf. I'm going to go over some different boards, different pop-up methods, and just some other basics about the sport in general as well. This summer, I randomly decided to move to California, and I knew that the very first thing I wanted to try out was surfing. I've never surfed before, and so I thought it would be really fun to just give it a shot and to just really try to push myself to master something new. Because school and work had been remote during this pandemic, I personally thought that the best use of my time was to just move somewhere new and do everything that I can there, because I feel like I've kind of done everything that I can in Colorado. Let's talk a little bit about boards. You might want to rent for your first few times, but when you finally decide to buy, there's a decent amount of research that you actually need to do. Different boards are easier than others, different boards can actually carve the wave better, and so you really just need to find what works for you. There's 4 main types of boards: the longboard, which usually sits around 9 feet, a fun board, which is 7 to 8 feet, and the fishtail and short boards, which usually sit around 6 feet. Longboards are definitely easiest to learn on, but you can move shorter as your skills improve. The next item you need to rent or buy is a wetsuit. Here in California, the temperature of the water is usually around 50 degrees, and the outside temperature is usually around 65, which makes for a very chilly day on the ocean if you don't have a wetsuit. And finally, you need to pick out a beach. Certain beaches have better waves because as the tide changes against the coast, they roll in differently on each and every beach. Sometimes it's easier to start on a smaller beach that is less crowded and has smaller waves. Now that you have everything you need, it's time to learn to surf. I began by watching as many beginner YouTube videos as I possibly could. I talked to a few people I know who have been surfing forever, and they say you'll learn just about as much from YouTube as you would in a lesson. The other thing that YouTube is good for is learning how to wax your board. Epoxy boards can get really slippery when they're wet and in the water, and so it's really key to wax your board. This photo shows how to put wax on each type of board. Since I have a long board, I wax the entire thing. Now it's time to surf. I've found the best way to learn is by simply getting out there and doing it. The water can be intimidating at first, but as long as you have a leg strap that's attached to you, there's really not a whole lot that can go wrong. The first thing to do after you've paddled out to where the waves begin to crash is lay belly down on the board and just try to catch waves that way. By not even trying to stand up and just riding them in on your stomach, you can gain a little bit of confidence and get a feel for the waves and that sort of thing. After you've mastered this, it's time to attempt your pop-up. It's basically a quick push-up into a squat at the back of your board. You want to be a little bit farther back than you are forward though, because the second you get too far forward, it's an instant nosedive. After you're able to get up, it's important to work on the stance that your feet are in. If your feet are too close together or too far apart, it's nearly impossible to stand up. You really just want to find a happy medium and find what works best for you. The only thing that I have ever been worried about is hitting someone else. Busier beaches can have tons of surfers and kids playing in the shallow water, and when you're a beginner, you don't really have much control of the board, and so I like to find an area that's fairly clear. And lastly, it's okay to fall. I used to get so embarrassed that I would wipe out all the time, but even experienced surfers take a tumble every other wave some days. It just happens. And if you let your fear of embarrassment take over, you're never going to learn to master something new. New skills and hobbies are not learned overnight. You have to be consistent. Going every weekend is how you will get good, not sitting at home watching videos about it. If you want to do something, you have to make the effort to go get it. It's always nerve-wracking to try new things, but I promise it will help you grow as a person. New skills and new hobbies are so exciting and definitely worth the risk. Even if you don't end up liking something that you try out, at least at the end of the day you can say that you tried it. Becoming a better leader also requires you to try new things. Leading people can often require you to take risks as well. And even if it's something as small as a hobby, it can be life-changing in every aspect of your life. I've met so many incredibly cool people while surfing too. It's kind of like hiking in Colorado. There's so many new people out there to meet that you might not meet otherwise, and it's always good to have friends in different areas of life to be able to pursue different passions with them. This is a photo of my boyfriend when we went surfing a few weeks ago. We actually learned to surf together. We've had lots of falls and lots of laughs, but overall I think that it has helped both of us grow as people in just the last few months.